I should do the same actually. Fill up my water again.
Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Welcome to Game Over Vancouver. My name is Sianquita, and here today I'm joined with Clarke. We are sad. Realistically,
Yep.
we're sad.
Yep.
If this episode could just be like an hour of silence for all of the hopes and dreams of a good season dying, I would be down. But regardless, we are here to give a safe space for everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did just realize that's it. Show's over. We're gonna show up for as long as the Canucks did tonight. So that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great show. Really loved that one. Yeah, that was honestly, I would rank that up high up there on some of the worst games of the season. I still think certain individual games might have been worse, but that was one of the worst games that I've watched this season, and thus in several years.
I very much agree. You could have put that game in any in between any game from the 2021-2022 season, and I would not. I There would be no difference.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was genuinely a shocking
Yeah.
performance tonight. It started bad, and in certain ways, it got worse. Obviously, the score technically improved, throughout the game. 3-0 in the first, a little bit better ever since. But I think certain aspects about that game got significantly worse as the game went along. And so, yeah, I'll let you start us wherever you'd like, because
Of
it's all bad.
100%
It's
man.
all bad.
You know what? We're gonna start off with something that I've been watching every week, which is our sponsor for today, Hyperdrive Hockey. All things hockey across various leagues in multiple countries. Whatever and wherever it is, Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey news. With a steady dose of fun and fan engagement. You can find Hyperdrive Hockey on the Game Over Network YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast on the Hyperdrive Hockey page at thegameovernetwork.com. And you know what, Zach? One thing I did realize is that, Calgary Flames, their fans must be ecstatic right now. I see Connor in chat, and I realize that we are no longer in the playoff spot.
We've not been in a playoff spot for a few games now. We're honestly,
fine,
it's
other than
hard to
a
say.
wildcard spot, we are out.
Yeah,
Aren't we out of the
it's
wildcard
hard
spot
to
now?
say. We've been out of the wildcard spot. We have not been in a playoff spot, I think, for more than 2 days since the new year. I think we were ahead of Calgary for 1 point in early January, like the first couple days, and they've been ahead of us for the rest of the time. We are worse than the Calgary Flames. Conrad, plug your ears for this next part. They are a bad team, and we are worse than them. So what does that say? Their best player is a rookie netminder. That's their best player, and their team is better than ours.
They have Kuzmenko. Even though he's being scratched, they have Kuzmenko.
Yeah. That they do. They have Andrei Kuzmenko. And they're better than we are. There's nothing else to say. They have the albatross of a contract, commonly considered by many to be one of the worst in the entire league, of Jonathan Huberdeau, who is outperforming our superstars. They have just rookie scorers who no one had ever heard of till a year ago, all of whom are better than our superstars. I couldn't name you their defense outside of their top line, and they're still better than our defense. Which, by the way, who could name anyone on our defense right now? And you know what? If we're gonna lament about our defense, bye-bye Tyler Myers. That looked bad. Starting to play some pretty decent hockey down the stretch. Tyler Myers actually looked like one of our better defensemen tonight. Not that that's hard, because a small garbage can half full would have been better than most of our defensemen. And now he's out for what looks like a while. You don't want to speculate. That looks like a bad injury.
Do you know what's funny? Do you know what's really
Serious.
funny? I think there's a defenseman that played worse. Like, okay, we'll leave like the JT Miller, Brock Besser, like
For now. We'll leave
stuff,
it for
like,
now.
in a bit. I just wanted to quickly talk about how piss poor Derek Forbort looked. I think, like, if anyone had a worse game than Myers, I think it was Forbort. I just wanted to put that out there, just because it's like, he had like a few good stretches at the beginning of the season, and now I see why, he was being scratched. I think.
Yeah.
Like, he looked lost. I think the entire team looked lost. I think the entire team is not motivated at all. You could see it in their body language. The only person that is playing their heart out right now is Connor Garland. Everyone else's hearts are, like, somehow they're going into cardiac arrest. Like, we are wasting prime Connor Garland dad time. Like,
no, you're right. Honestly, I'll defend a couple other players. I think Quinn Hughes doesn't really need a defense from Canucks fans or from anyone. He's also been electric. And a few of our depth forwards feel like they're showing heart. But that first period just looked like they did not care. Now, that second goal, I believe the Tanner Jeannot one. I know that it was going around on Twitter. If you watch JT Miller on that shift, you know, I know that we wanted to postpone it a little, but can we get into JT Miller? Because that was insane.
Of course.
That was a game unlike... So when JT Miller first signed his extension, I do not need to remind Canucks fans who have been watching the team for a few years that people wanted him gone for nothing. There was trade JT Miller for future considerations talk, and it was legitimate. And honestly, it was kind of deserved. His offense performance was lackluster, and he was so uninvolved and effortless defensively that you could make a justification. And then he made everyone forget about those talks. Nonsense, everyone cries. He's one of the best forwards in the league. Top 15 in points since he's joined the Canucks. A power forward, a dynamo. And in the playoffs last year, one of the best defensive forwards that there was in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That game was the worst performance he's had since those trade him for future considerations. He did not give, let's think of a word I can say here, anything. He did not give anything. I'll let your imagination fill in there. He looked terrible. Yeah, honestly, and I'm not the only one who is saying this. I think that this could very well be his last game as a Canuck, or at the very least, his mentality was that of it's going to be his last game as a Canuck. Whether or not he thinks he's going to be traded right away, or whether he thinks management has already made up its mind, that was not the performance of someone that wants to represent the Vancouver Canucks, the crest, the logo, or the team. That was not someone that holds their teammates accountable in any way, shape, or form, because that was not someone that holds themselves accountable to any level. That would have been unacceptable play for an AHLer substituting in after your entire top six goes AWOL on LTIR. That was that bad of a performance, and I think that can only be summed up by the fact that he has completely lost his will to be a Vancouver Canuck.
Oh, I most definitely agree. I think, like, I'm not even going to talk about, like, the PD Miller situation anymore. I think right now it's just Miller. Like, sure,
yeah.
PD is underperforming. That's normal. JT Miller plays like someone at YMCA who has been playing for like half an hour on the ice and does not want to go back and play defense.
Absolutely. He's playing like a 57-year-old in senior men's Div 4 beer league down at 8 rinks for an 11:30 p.m. start on a Thursday night game. That's how badly he's playing. It's incredible watching him play out there. I'm certain that players learning to skate for their first time would at least put in the same or more effort than he does. And that's what it's about. Because you make a great point. Pettersson is underperforming. But at the very least, I would say that I have not questioned his effort. And that's the biggest thing.
Like, here, with PD, like, he's underperforming stat-wise, and, like, if you guys in chat, if you guys follow the Game Over TikTok, like we had a post that had me talking about how PD is playing like a 16-year-old dog, where we will just congratulate him on anything that he does. But the thing is, he is trying defensively. He's like literally playing like a two-way forward, which, you know what, is not really what we're asking for, but it's working. JT Miller is like JT Miller is playing like a dead dog. Honestly, like and don't get me started on Besser as well tonight. I think that effort was, I'd say, equally has diminished tonight compared to JT Miller, but like with, I don't know, man. They're grown men. They're grown men, man.
Yeah, Besser also concerns me, because the thing is with Besser is that he's another Canuck that might not be back. And if you're not putting in this effort, what does that say? For JT Miller and Brock Besser, for me, it says that they don't want to be here. And then the question becomes, why don't they want to be here? Is it because of the core? Is it because they don't have faith in the coaching strategies? I know that you and I and the wonderful Kaja want to discuss Tocchet's future here as a Canuck. I think that his future is almost unquestionably gone. And you know what? I'm not even going to say it's because the Canucks don't want him back. I think it's equally because he does not want to be back. Why would he want to deal with this when he could go back and get a cushy media job that pays close to as much as a solid analyst, which is what he was doing before, wouldn't have to deal with all the toxic drama that's through this room. But also, I'm not sure the team wants to keep him back. I think again, we were talking earlier about the fact that teams have a read on what Tocchet's systems are. Last year, when he came in, it was fresh. It was innovative. It was hard to play against. This year, I will say, to Tocchet's defense, it is clearly not being executed as well as it was last year. But at the same time, even when it is being executed well, teams are clearly more respondent to it, especially teams in the West. Like LA has seen us so many times. Seriously, was there any time that we really looked threatening, like 5-on-5?
Like, I'd say for a solid 30 seconds. Literally for a solid 30 seconds. And yet we didn't get a single shot on goal in that 30 seconds.
Yeah, there's so much to complain about. It's genuinely hard to stay on track, because when I start to complain about one thing, it reminds me of another thing that absolutely must be ripped to shreds. It is incredible watching them play out there. Our defense core has only gotten worse now if Myers is out long term. And again, that did not look good. He looked really shaken up around that right shoulder area. And I mean, even if it's something like a separated shoulder, you're out for, at least a month kind of thing.
That shoulder looked limp. Like I think he's really injured for at least 2 months. And speaking about injuries, by the way, looking at chat, Alfred Canuck says that some have reported that JT Miller is playing through an injury. I'm not buying it, to be quite frank. If you're injured, can you tell us? Like,
yeah, and I think the other thing is, if you're injured, firstly, if you're injured so hard that you can't play, don't play. It's not helpful to try to force yourself through that. Also, I think Luke Fleischwater brings up an amazing point that we lost 2 assistant coaches, Mike Yao, who's in charge of the special teams, and someone else whose name I definitely remember off the top of my head, over the offseason. And I think that does absolutely shake up the dynamic of a locker room and the strategies. That being said, I do think it's a lot more than that as well. I think that it's not being executed well, and nothing's going well. I gotta fix my camera. Take over for a second.
That's all good. I was just about to tell you so.
My camera's performing like the Canucks are. There we go. Now it's back.
Hey man, at least your camera's consistent.
Yes, it is.
But I don't know, man. This is there's so much I want to say. Like, I have an entire period. I just want to analyze this. Like, remember that one episode that we did where we just analyzed trades? I want to do that again, just because I'm thinking about the Canucks.
It felt so. The season felt so full of hope back then.
I know, man. And
I felt like I knew what love was. Now here we are. I will say, let's try to focus on one topic here. One topic that I wanted to start with, because the game kind of started with this, was, man, did Thatcher Demko look bad. Talking to my 2 buddies, Liam Hicks and Lachlan Irvin, both of whom have guested on the show before, and both of whom are former goaltenders at the junior level. immediately texting in saying he looks injured. He looks like he's still playing through something. And the issue is we know this to be true. Because when we found out about the Popliteus injury, it was said to be for life. And I am starting to have serious doubts about whether or not he can ever get back to the Thatcher Demko that we once knew. I still think that we are going to see the same peaks from Demko, because I still think his ability to flash high danger saves and come out huge. Bear in mind that pre-injury, he had the best high danger save percentage of any goaltender in the league. I think that we're still going to see flashes of that. But I think the consistency that we came to know and we came to love is going to be gone. Because now, if he can't find his rhythm, if he feels like it's nagging him more on one night than it is another night, then that's going to be really tough. Not to mention we know he's dealing with back spasms. Then the issue becomes as well, do we trust Kevin Lankinen to be a starter? I think we're starting to see the workload take a toll on him with his consistency going down too. I mean, think about, with all due respect, how bad he was in the last game he played. So the crease, and Artur Shilovs feels like a lost cause in the NHL, at least for this year. Oh my God, how bad did he look early season? It feels like we're kind of waiting for a miracle in the crease. I still like Kevin Lankinen as a stopgap, and I think he's a great 1B or backup. I'm not certain he's going to be the guy for us, and I'm now no longer certain Demko is either.
I will say, and this is just me, like, it might sound like I'm pulling it out of my ass, but I do believe that there have been talks about extending Lankinen.
Yes.
That being said, I'm kind of worried about how much that would cost, and if anything, we might need to offload some cap in order to do so realistically. That might just mean not signing Besser and like have that cap go towards Lankinen, which I kind of feel like is a mistake if it's not like a 1 or 2 year deal. But I don't know, it's looking grim. But though I'll play devil's advocate for just a quick sec, in that Silovs is still 23. We've seen, I guess, his, like, I'm not gonna say his peak, because he can't really peak at 22 23, but I think we've seen glimpses of what he can do. He seems mature enough and smart enough to know to know what he needs to work on. So I kind of, that's the one part where I'm not too worried about.
Yeah, I don't want to write him off for the future, and I also don't want to write off Nikita Tolopilo, because if you follow the AHL at all, he also looks like a great goaltending prospect. But the thing is with the Canucks is that we are in a window, or we're supposed to be in a window right now. And I am worried about right now for goaltending. And I think that there is no immediate answer. I mean, Kevin Lankinen, again, I think he'll be good enough. If we can figure everything else out, I think he'll be good enough to get us to the playoffs. But I don't think he's going to be good enough. A 7-game series, I do not have any faith that he's still going to be playing at an elite level come game 4, 5, 6, and 7 of the series. I think that he might give us a few good games at the start, but I think eventually that wear and tear is going to catch up to him over a short period of time. Because I think we've already seen that at certain points in the season when he's had to play back-to-back, and he's looked absolutely horrendous on the second half. Lankinen could be looking for at least $4.5 million AAV, says Alfred. I completely agree. I think that maybe 4.5 might be a bit rich, but I would say at least 3.5, and I think 4 is very, very within reason, especially given the fact that, of course, he's going to have the benefit of free agency. So if he makes it to free agency, I think 4 to 4.5 is a perfectly reasonable estimate. And bear in mind, the cap goes up for everyone else in the league. Not us. Thank you, Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout, because that increases by $4 million next year.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
Of course.
At least, like,
I guess my friend.
In Lankinen's sense, I think he most definitely should ask for 4.5 or more, because he has saved their ass in the beginning of the season. But oh man, the future does look grim. Regarding the win now situation, I 100% want to talk about that in the actually next period of the stream. But to quickly go, I want to talk about super quick a highlight of the game, in that it is January 16th, and Kiefer Sherwood is now the new hits per season leader of the Canucks. That is the only upside to this game, I'd say, and thank God he's been trying.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. And honestly, that almost makes me feel even worse about the season, because think about, compared to expectations, how heavily both Kevin Lankinen and Kiefer Sherwood have exceeded expectations. If you, on paper, coming into this season, knew what you had from last year, and somehow could see into the future and knew how good both Kevin Lankinen and Kiefer Sherwood were going to be, you would probably think this team would be winning the President's Trophy right about now. If you took how the Canucks played last year and threw in both Sherwood and Lankinen, it would be incredible. It's how disastrous everything else has gone, and especially this defensive core. I mean, this defensive core, oh my goodness. If I have to watch names that are not Eric Brandstrom being trotted into this lineup anymore, I am going to lose it. You absolutely cannot, in any possible conceivable universe, convince me that he is worse defensively, or at least worse enough defensively than Forbort or Desharnais to warrant him being out of the lineup when he still brings a lot of puck movement offensively. There are options from within that could be tried, but no. Let's keep trotting out Derek Forbort and Vinny Desharnais and Gia, I can't say his name, Brisebois. Kaja's told me 4 times how to say his name, and I still haven't learned because he shouldn't be on the ice. We should put them away, but we don't have a choice because there's only one guy who I think should be in the lineup instead of all 4 of them. It's the most miserable defensive core in hockey. I actually think there are nights where outside of Quinn Hughes, I would take the Chicago Blackhawks defensive core, and 4 of them are created, made-up players. They're not real. And I'd still take them over the Canucks.
In other news, the Predators won the game.
Yep.
Thank you, Volbill99. I just looked granted, it's against the Blackhawks, which is a free win.
I just said they're made up players.
Yeah, they're made up players.
I have the roster here. You ever heard of Nolan Allen? Louis Crevier? These are not real, and they're better than the Canucks are. Actually, maybe that's not fair. The Chicago is a dumpster fire. Please free Connor Bedard. But still, holy, who else didn't forget OEL's ghost money? Well, Canucks management, apparently. I mean, this was supposed to be the year. This was supposed to be the year. Last year, 100-point season. You feel like you can only improve. You know you've got OEL's buyout extending in a year's time. So this was supposed to be the year, and this is what's happening. It is infuriating because if you look at this lineup just on paper, this should be such a good hockey team. I mean, our defense core sucks, but like forwards and goaltending is great, but we can't score a goal. Honestly, we were playing the Kings tonight, and I felt like I was watching the Kings of last year, except they were wearing the blue and green. It's so tough watching this hockey. We did not have a shot on goal for 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And in that 9 minutes,
penalties.
We had 2 penalties! Dude, this is an impower play. This is a weak play. Can we decline these, please? Can we start declining penalties? You know what? Put our guy in the box. They take a penalty, put one of our guys in the box. We don't play any worse on the penalty kill than we do on the power play. Like it is
we're on the penalty
shocking
kill,
how bad our
power on the
power
ice.
play is.
We have a chance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Millsy Ranger once again. Honestly, I think you're right. I really do. I think you're right at this point. I think a trade between the New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks is going to happen. I think that it's going to involve Braden Schneider. I think that the Canucks are going to get fleeced. Yeah. That's my prediction. The Canucks are going to get fleeced in a trade with the New York Rangers for JT Miller.
You know what, Zach? I think it's a good time to switch to our second period, because our second period I want to revisit.
Because I'm just getting warmed up.
No, 100%. Second period is literally something that I talked about 2 shows ago with Canuck Clay, but I wanted to revisit it with you because you actually already just started talking about it. That being said, moving on to the second sponsor of the show is going to be the Game Over Network by itself. If you guys enjoy the Zach rants, if you guys enjoy the Game Over Vancouver post-game shows, if you guys didn't know, all 7 teams in the NHL that are in Canada have Game Over Network shows on their post-game as well.
Including Canada's team! Canada's team! Woohoo!
Shout-outs to the Game Over Ottawa.
Shout out to Game Over Ottawa.
But if you guys are looking for a way to continue to support us, and if you have a few bucks kicking around, please support us through our Patreon. You can find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's gonna be extra access. You could be seeing an exclusive look behind the scenes like that 2 seconds where I accidentally clicked the Game Over Discord that you guys did not see.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Leaking our secrets.
But if you guys are not able to support us with money, that is completely fine because we do have a free tier available so you do not miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and please share our work, as well as do not forget to like and subscribe. So second stream period, I literally did not erase a single point from the last game. Question is, are we still trying to contend for a cup? Because sure, we haven't played full strength. I could easily just be like, you know what, Zach, we didn't have Dakota Joshua. That's the reason why we didn't lose.
That was the only thing that was wrong.
The only reason
you make a great point. You make a great point.
And
how did I not think of that?
It sucks because we need to be a win now, like you said, because we have JT Miller, who is in his 30s and will start regressing soon, which also might be now, if we don't trade him. We have cheap contracts from Demko and Hughes. We have Besser expiring now, and if we're looking to sell, we have to sell now because of how stacked the Pacific division is. Like there's Conrad. Zach kind of interests you in the slightly used Tyson Berry. I would rather take Samuel Honzek and keep him in the Vancouver Giants Hall of Fame. But yeah, do you think we still need to try and contend, or do you think we should sell?
So let's evaluate. Do we contend or do we sell? The issue is we don't have a damn choice. If we sell, this is going to be the worst hockey team the NHL has maybe ever seen for the next 100,000 years. What do we sell? JT Miller has a full no move clause. That trade is going to be... Canucks fans, seriously, I need you to sit down and brace for impact when that trade drops. We are going to get nothing. Full no move. He can nix any trade he wants to. So it's only going to be if it's perfect situation for him, not what the team wants for him. Think about how selfish he's been all season long. It does not matter if the Canucks get robbed or not. We're going to get nothing for him. Pettersson's value never been lower. Do you want to know where he ranks in centers in points since in the last calendar year?
It's like bot 50, right?
He's 45th. 45th. So he is a second line center, making $11.6 million. You might get a bag of Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar crisps for that. Okay, so let's think about it.
Oh wait,
We've got a fleece for JT Miller.
Not salt and vinegar. Those are good chips.
They're pretty good chips, but it's not going to help you too much to win a Stanley Cup. Don't get me wrong, Alvin, talk it, they can split it and have a nice night. Maybe watch some 2023 Canucks hockey when there was hope. So you're going to get, currently, what you're getting is one fleece for JT Miller, so you can be warm in Rogers Arena, one bag of crisps for Elias Pettersson. You have nothing to sell. Thatcher Demko, you might struggle to give away. He is broken beyond repair, and think about how low the goalie market is. The only person you could sell for a value that would actually receive a fair price is Quinn Hughes. And if you sell him, that's the worst decision the franchise has ever made. And there have been some puzzling decisions made in this franchise lifetime. You have no choice but to contend. Now, I will say, I do think the choice lies down then to what you contend with. I don't think that you contend with this exact core. I don't hate the idea of shipping off Miller. I do think you're going to get fleeced, but you know what? If it's the JT Miller that played tonight, give me the fleece. Give me the fleece. That's what I want. And honestly, Brock Besser, it's tough. I love Brock Besser. Everyone, if you're a Canucks fan, you love Brock Besser. But let's not kid ourselves here. He can't skate. He skates like he's just had triple leg surgery. He barely moves out there. He uses his hockey IQ to get himself into good positions to score, which is all well and good. But if he can't skate now, think about how bad that contract would be in just a few years' time. So I don't hate the idea of selling off Besser and Miller, but to fully start to try to get a rebuild going, no chance, because you just wouldn't get the pieces back. It's so tough. It's so unfortunate because there's no right answer here. Same with letting go of Talkit. If you're letting go of Talkit, then you are hiring your fourth coach in 4 years. What does that say about the roster you've built? At a certain point, you haven't built a very good roster, and there's a flaw in the core. And that has to be examined before anything else can.
No, you're so right about the coach thing. Like if we fire Tocha, then we have to get rid of the core. Like there's no saving this core then, which it sucks. And you're so right about Besser playing with his IQ. Like we all love Besser. Like the Besser prom story. Like after reading that, I wanted him to be a Canuck for life. But if we're looking to contend, which is at this point really unlikely, we need to ship out Miller. If we're looking to sell, we need to ship out Besser. And like put Besser on a winning team. If anyone deserves to win the cup right now, purely because of heart, it's Besser. But like, I don't know. It's so grim. Like I was looking up like what we could trade JT Miller for, and the thing that's tough is that we need. I mean, he's not gonna accept the place unless like the housing is cheap, just so him and his family could build a nice house and make it all beige. But oh man, like
no, it's really tough, especially like if you pull up like Puckpedia and take a look at who has like no movement contract. If you think Pettersson is not going to rebound, which I'm gonna get into that after I finish this thought. If you think Pettersson's not going to rebound, you have to trade him this year. There is no choice. He has a full no movement clause that kicks in next season. So I actually don't know. I'm going to admit this. I don't know when exactly that kicks in. And the reason I say when exactly, I think it's July 1st, right?
It's July 1st.
Because it is July 1st? Okay, cool.
Yeah, just because technically when he signed the extension, that extension wasn't until July 1st.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So you need to trade him before July 1st. Because, again, once July 1st hits, he can say no to any trade he wants, and then you're just not getting anything good for him because teams will know if he said, I only want to go here. I mean, the best example of that in recent mind, and especially because I'm wearing the Senators jacket, is think about the DeBrincat trade. He said, I'm going to Detroit, and I'm only going to Detroit. And then they got Dominik Kubalik, who's playing in the Czech League 1 year after that trade for him. Thank you, Donovan Sabrango, for being the only thing the Sens actually got from that. Dakota Joshua, 12-team no-trade clause. Danton Heinen, exactly the same. Teddy Bluger, exactly the same. Jake DeBrusk, full no-trade clause. Brock Besser, 10-team no-trade clause. And these no-trade clauses are exactly why I say that you aren't going to get that much value. So the only players you actually are going to get a decent amount of value for are the guys like Kiefer Sherwood and Pius Suter, who have been your best players. Those are the guys you don't want to trade. The versatility of Pius Suter cannot possibly be understated. It's been a huge story of this year. It was a huge story of last year. Kiefer Sherwood, if you've seen a Canucks game this year, you don't need me to tell you what Kiefer Sherwood has been bringing to this team. Nils Höglander doesn't have any sort of trade protection, and he's the one piece that everyone keeps talking about. I think the other thing that people don't realize is what's the biggest thing the Canucks need help on right now? Defense. The defense market right now is so stretched thin. You're looking at spending at least a first and Willander to get someone that's a noticeable upgrade in the top 4. Or do you really think that we can commit a first and Willander? I mean, right now it's looking like we have a better shot of picking top 5 than we do of making the playoffs. It's incredible.
Yeah, man.
Flames are on a 2-game losing streak. And we can't overtake them because we are also on a 2-game losing streak. It's a battle of who wants to be in the playoffs less.
Basically. Like,
seriously. Honestly. The Flames should want to miss, and the Canucks should want to get in. Apparently, no one told the Canucks that, or Dustin Wolf. He's unreal. He should... The odds for him, by the way, I'm not a betting man. If I was, slam that Calder Trophy odds for Dustin Wolf. It's like plus 5,000, when in reality, he should be right behind Lane Hudson in voting.
Oh, it's not even Liam Hudson in first, too, no?
No, it's Celebrini, but honestly, it should be Hudson. And I say that as someone that does not particularly like Hudson, but it still should be him.
Fair.
EP40 for Nazem Kadri. Book it. Honestly,
we're losing.
The fact that neither of us responded no, we both responded honestly. Canucks fans are being tortured. This is horrible. I don't even believe it. You know what? I'll tell you a bit about my personal life today, guys. I went out and I got a tattoo for 4 hours. And do you know what was more painful? The Canucks game. The Canucks game was more painful. it was actually hard to watch for the first few minutes, because the second the Kings got that second goal, you knew the game was over. The Canucks give up. They give up. They roll over and they give up. You score a goal. Ah, shucks. We'll get them next time, fellas. We put in our best effort for 38 seconds. That's the best we can do. Let's give up now. Seriously, I mean, the fight in these players, they say it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Right now, the dog is a Chihuahua, and it doesn't want to fight.
Man, like I was looking up like potential trades on like what we could do, and I was just reminded about the no movement clause, and that it immediately eliminates like everything I want to do.
Like, it's everyone too. Like, everyone that you want to trade has a no movement clause. Philip Peronic, another guy that if you want to trade, you need to trade now, right now. He has a new full no movement clause kicking in on July 1st. Carson Soucy cannot be traded this year. Next year, he has a 12-team no trade list. Tyler Myers signed till he's 37, full no trade clause until the very last year of his deal. Sure, Vincent Desharnais and Derek Forbort, but you would actually have to attach something to get rid of those guys. Like, it is nightmarish on the trade front, and that's why we haven't seen any action yet this year on the trade front, despite having they are reputedly aggressive in the trade front. Alvina Rutherford, everyone knows how active they are in the trade market, but they can't get anything done because of how much they have sewered themselves.
We can't even trade Desharnais and Forbort for future considerations, because no one wants to consider their futures.
I wish that I could get future considerations for Vincent Desharnais. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, like I had a wish list of like players that I would want to have on this team. Like there's a part of me that's like in some way or form, if we can get Nick Robertson from the Maple Leafs onto this team, that would at least be a spark plug. But like, what would we give? Because the Maple Leafs don't even have cap to take anything. We'd have to take.
It was good on the Leafs. They have this defender called Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I feel like it'd be an upgrade in our top four.
Honestly,
maybe we could see what that guy's up to.
I don't even think this is fair value, but like, even if we did, like, let's say Nick Robertson and Chris Tanev just to make Chris when he's happy, like, book it.
Here's the thing: Nick Robertson and Chris Tanev. Yeah, I love that package. Yeah. What are you sending them? JT Miller and every first. Again, you have to realize just how low the trade value is of everyone. I mean, reportedly, JT Miller has said he only wants to go to New York, which is like, if he only wants to go to one team, you are genuinely going to get whatever that team offers. If you feel that you have to get rid of him, you take what the team offers. Because again, he can say no to whatever he wants.
That's true. Man, where's he gonna find a house though in New York?
I feel like he has some money, you know.
Oh, that's fair. That's a good point. Sorry, I'm poor.
He plays in the National Hockey League. Makes $8 million a year. You wouldn't believe it after tonight, but yeah. Okay, you know what? I real quick, I feel like we didn't spend enough time on some individual performances tonight.
True.
We skipped through the game because I think that you and I, in our heart of hearts, did not want to address that game.
No.
Much like the Canucks, after 30 seconds, we wanted to give up and forget about it. So, okay. At least that's how I felt.
I can quickly go through my notes. So basically, this is the first game in the 3-game homestand. It sucks.
Why do we have to play home games? Can we play the rest of the year on the road, please?
I would love to, because that would mean I can't believe we didn't address this yet. Okay, so I'm in school. I got a text from the Canucks saying student rush tickets, and I'm like, sick. I get to save money. It was $179. My textbooks are cheaper than that. $179, and granted, when student rush comes out for the Canucks, that basically means that it's $20 more for a lower bowl. AKA, you are paying normal prices for a lower bowl game. A lower bowl seat. Yeah. And for $179, like, I could buy so many Pokemon cards from that. Yes. I could buy, like, I'm gonna do math super quick. Hold on.
He's gonna do the math of Pokemon cards. You could buy half a limited edition Charizard.
No, actually, Charizard's a lot more expensive than that.
Well, it depends which edition. But anyways, this is a Canucks show, not a Pokemon show. Although what a fun that would be.
I could buy 60 medium ice caps.
Nice. Yeah, you could.
That would be. I could buy one beer actually too from Rogers Arena from $179 probably.
Yeah. Before tax, for sure.
Before tax.
Yeah.
But you know what? Tax, like, aren't we still like tax exempt for another month?
on some
Yeah.
things, probably not Rogers
Yeah,
Arena beers.
probably.
They probably charge extra tax on those.
But yeah,
They're gonna start charging a crying fee for all the fans that are in their seats sobbing their tears out. And they're gonna make money off of it too. I like the comment from Volbil saying, "I feel like this Canucks game is the Pepe Sylvia from It's Always Sunny." Pepe Sylvia from Always Sunny. Oh my god, it's a great way of putting it because one person thought that he knew what was going on and no one knew what was going on. It's just incredible watching this team. I will say some really interesting videos on Twitter. Unfortunately, I don't think we can play them live on the show, but if you look up just JT Miller under media, Sportsnet, someone has clipped it and put it on Twitter. Sportsnet showed the interaction between JT Miller and Rick Tocchet after the fourth goal. I mean, that's a guy that just, he's so checked out. And when JT Miller is purportedly such a heart and soul guy, to see him that checked out just means you know something big is coming. And I just don't know if something big is going to fix this team. I honestly feel like the only answer where the Canucks come out on top is if they figure it out. But it just doesn't feel like they're going to. And honestly, the defense is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You just, I as a Canucks fan do not feel good about giving up what looks like such a good prospect in Tom Willander. We actually kind of low key have made some really good first round selections. Both Lekkerimaki and Tom Willander have been doing better than some of the guys picked above them in their respective careers so far. I don't feel good about trading either one, but seriously, our defense is like, it's a joke to watch. It's an actual joke to watch out there. Noah Juleson and Derek Forbort and Vincent Desharnais and Tyler Myers have all spent time in the top four. I mean, there is no championship caliber defense core that can possibly be built this way. And it's really tough for Vancouver right now because honestly, just what do you actually do? I mean, there's no possible option where this team gets better on paper. Now, of course, the game's not played on paper. If JT Miller is going to continue to play like this, you got to get rid of him. And honestly, you would take what you can get. If the Canucks, who reportedly really want Braden Schneider, if the Canucks get Braden Schneider, I'm going to be over the moon because I think he's a great young defender. But again, might be a couple years off being peak. I guess he has already played a couple years in the NHL, to be fair to him. But that might be wishful thinking. That might still be too much value. I just know that this JT Miller trade is going to be so disappointing. I mean, what do you think that the Canucks might be able to get from him if they have to trade him to New York and every team in the league knows that?
We probably have to give up a pick and assets, but what are the odds we get Kamal Miller?
Sorry, what, K'Andre Miller you said?
Yes, sorry, K'Andre Miller.
No, you're good. Honestly, I think K'Andre Miller has a lot less value than someone like Braden Schneider does. I think that because he also has not had a very good year. If you want to talk about Miller's having a bad year, it's not been great. I mean, you got JT Miller, you got K'Andre Miller, and you got a bunch of Miller beer that's been on the floor of my room for 9 months. A bunch of Millers that are not doing anything. So I do think K'Andre Miller is going to be easier to get than someone like Braden Schneider. But I also think that, again, you're relying on him to be able to bounce back to the K'Andre Miller that we saw the last couple of years. If they trade for K'Andre Miller and he doesn't bounce back, this horrible, disastrous Canucks season will have become even worse. I have to say, these next big trades are understatedly massive for the Canucks. If they mess up these trades, this could go down as the worst season in Canucks history. Genuinely, it could. Think about the hope of last year. Think about the expectations coming into this year. Think about how great some of the signings have performed. And then halfway through the year, we're talking about trading one of our star players for a handful of peanuts because that would be preferable to keeping him. How bad has this season gone for Vancouver?
I'm so sad. I see everyone complaining about the season, and I've become so nonchalant to all of this because of how bad the Canucks have been, like, ever since the 2011 Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, all the hope that I have on this team, like, whenever we start winning, obviously I'm going to be happy, but, like, when stuff goes bad, I'm like, yeah, it's the Canucks. Like, nothing's changed, realistically. And honestly, Zach, like, if we mess up these trades, like, the next free trades, there's no way I see us re-signing Quinn Hughes. And
that's the thing. You make a really good point. Quinn Hughes is one of the best defenders to have ever touched the sport of hockey. if he doesn't want to be here in 3 years, every single team in the National Hockey League is going to offer him 8 figures, and some of them are going to offer him some of the biggest contracts we've ever seen, possibly the biggest contract ever. And you know where he is going to go if the Canucks don't keep him? New Jersey. Yeah, exactly. They can offer him playing with his 2 brothers. No other team can offer that. And I think that they'd be willing to do it, too. Granted, they do have a lot of good young defensemen, but that means that, what would be really enticing is if the Canucks know Quinn Hughes doesn't want to be here in the last year of his deal, how good does a trade with New Jersey look? You can get someone like Nemec back. You can get someone like, God, who else do they have? They've got some other great prospects who I'm forgetting about right now. Because do you want to know what I'm doing right now? I am going back through the last several Canucks games to find out when the last time this team went positive in the faceoff dot was.
When was it?
Carolina. So that was, 5 games ago? 4 games ago. 4 games ago, they went positive in the faceoff dot to Carolina. But I'm going past that. Negative. It's an underratedly huge thing. For a team that has a possession-based style of hockey, we lose the faceoff more time than we win it. I'm all the way back to this Kraken win now, and I still have yet to see us positive. There we go, finally. So since the Kraken, in our last 8 games, we've been positive in the faceoff circle twice. With 2 centers, they're supposed to be top 20 centers in the league. They're supposed to be elite. The Canucks, on paper, are supposed to have a top 3 center duo in the league. I'll remind you that if you look last year, just last year, less than a calendar year ago, people are making rankings, and Pettersson and Miller are ranked as the number 2 duo of centers in the league behind Edmonton. I mean, how far has this team fallen from grace? And now, we can't even go positive in the faceoff dot more than 25% of the games we play. It's, and they're not involved. Okay, Pettersson's involved defensively in lieu of his offensive contribution.
If I may, I'd rather, Manny Malhotra is on the Canucks payroll. Why not just have him for a game?
Great question.
Right?
It's a great question. It is a great question, though, because you're also not the first person to suggest that. He was a great face-off taker. If you look at Abbotsford Canucks face-off percentages as a team, granted, of course, different players, but still way, way higher than the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah, have a session with him.
Honestly, there's nothing stopping them. That's the whole reason why Abbotsford is in Abbotsford. We moved from Utica to Abbotsford to have the farm. Why not just send all the players to the farm? I would love to see a scrimmage between the Abbotsford Canucks and the Vancouver Canucks.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see whose defensive core looks better. Because, honest to God, I could not tell you that it would be Vancouver's. If Quinn Hughes was out of the lineup, for whatever reason, Vancouver's current defense is worse than Abbotsford current defense, and I mean it. Seriously, give me guys like Brandstrom. Give me guys like Friedman. Give me guys like Cole McWard. I know Akito Hirose is injured, but give me him too. I actually would take all 4 of those players over Derek Forbort, Vinny Desharnais. Who else? Maybe, Susi looked a bit better tonight, but maybe him with the way he's played this year. It has been an abomination of a defensive core that the Canucks are trotting out night in, night out. And the really frustrating thing is that when we've seen other guys get tiny, tiny opportunities, they've looked better, and the Canucks coaching staff has still sent them down. And that's what's making me lose faith the most, is that Friedman, when he came in for 2 games, did not look out of place with the other Canucks defenders, but he was doing other things better. He was throwing more hits, and we all know how great he is at drawing penalties. That's a bit of a secret in the league, but he's crazy good at drawing penalties as well. Erik Brandstrom, for the love of everything that is holy, what does this man have to do to get into the NHL lineup? Do we have to start killing off some of our bottom-pairing defensemen to see him hit the ice? What is happening? I'm watching the Abbotsford Canucks Twitter light up like a Christmas tree, posting Erik Brandstrom highlights where he looks like prime Connor McDavid skating through the AHL. He is not an AHL player. Bring him up. What does Noah Juleson do? What does Derek Forbort do? This was not a good game for Forbort, even by his low, low standards. Vinny Desharnais has been in the doghouse all year long because of his poor performance. I just don't understand the decisions being made by these coaches, because it's not getting out coached in a game of hockey is a difficult thing. It's a tangible thing. I would get out coached by any National Hockey League coach. You know what I, sitting here in my bedroom, could do? Say Erik Brandstrom should be in the lineup. These are not hard decisions to be making. Anyone with eyes or access to I don't know, a computer or a TV to watch hockey should understand that Eric Brandstrom has a space in this lineup over guys that we have been seeing night in, night out. I want to bash my head against the wall.
Do you know what's funny? You listed AHL defensemen that could make the main roster. You forgot about DPD. You forgot about also DPD.
And Willander.
And Willander.
Yeah.
Man, like, honestly,
without honestly, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Abbotsford defensive core is better than Vancouver's.
Dude, without Quinn Hughes in a Vancouver versus Abbotsford scrimmage, Eric Brandstrom would torture asses.
Yeah.
Like,
I would.
He can outskate the entire team, minus Max Sasson. But Max Sasson is he's still borderline Vancouver Abbotsford, being sent down all the time. So if he plays for Abbotsford, where are our skaters? Besser is literally going to fall.
Yep. I mean, okay. I'm back on my Brandstrom narrative for a bit here. I know plus minus is a whatever stat, but he's a -4 with 17 points. Carson Soucy is a minus, or sorry, I misread the stats there. He's a -4 with 8 points. Carson Soucy is a -12 with 6. Vinny Desharnais is a -6 with 3. Derek Forbort -7 with 3. What does he? Noah Juolson's a -11 with nothing. At a certain point, I do understand that depth defensemen have to play a role. And you do absolutely need some depth defensemen like the guys that I'm scoring right now to play on the penalty kill and things like that. What you do not need is them. How do we not understand about this? You don't have 4 defensemen out on the penalty kill at the same time. You don't need this. Bring in a guy that can move the puck. Hronek gets caved in defensively. Tonight was a classic Hronek game where yes, he can move the puck. Exactly. Yes, he can move the puck. But he is not good defensively, and let's not pretend he is. He's not actually bringing anything that Eric Brandstrom isn't, aside from a couple more inches on his height. So, okay, you've got Hughes and Hronek up there to move the puck on the top line. You don't have anything in the bottom 4, and you need it desperately. You just don't need 4 depth role players. And it's insanity because it's not like they've been trying a bunch of different things and they haven't been working. They've been rolling out the same thing every time, and it's not working. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but I'm genuinely angry at this point in the year. I'm absolutely angry.
Like, do not worry at all about cutting me off, because every single time you do, it escalates even further, and I wish I had popcorn right now, honestly. Sorry, side note, I'm looking at the stats from today. How many shots on goal do you think Besser and JT Miller have combined?
Besser and Miller?
Yep.
Combined.
So
I'll say really quickly for the chat, they should honestly have somewhere in the realm of at least like 5, 6, 7 combined. I'm gonna say combined. They had I'll be generous. They had a shot.
0.
Okay.
They had 0.
Yeah. You know who else had 0? The entire team after 9 minutes and 2 power plays. To a man advantage, the biggest lack of an advantage I've ever seen. What do we even do on the power play? You know, I criticized Mike Yowie past years because I didn't love the way that he coached our power play. Oh my goodness. A dog that just learned to speak English 3 days ago could coach our power play better than what is currently happening out there. I mean, 0 for, what was it, 5? 0 for 6? I know for a fact that after 4 power plays, we had 1 shot. 8 minutes of 5-on-4, and we registered 1 shot. What are we doing? I actually do feel like we have to get back to minor midget, AA, 9-year-old hockey here. You ever heard of a guy called Wayne Gretzky? That quote about, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
You don't take any.
Has anyone told the Canucks that? You don't take any. You're missing all of them. It's incredible. I mean, again, did we even hit the 20-shot mark this game? Probably, but did we? Probably not. It was miserable. I'm miserable. Oh, yeah, we did, guys. Don't worry. We got 21 shots, everyone. Well, my bad. Let's pack it up and go home. Our offense is fine. Let's change nothing. 45% in the face-off dot. 21 shots. That many power plays and just nothing. And, you know the worst part about it is the first period and some of the second. I feel like critiquing the effort level is completely warranted. But honestly, aside from a few players in the third, namely Besser and Miller, aside from those guys, I actually like the effort level in the third. And we still couldn't do a damn thing. And that's what's worrying, is that even when the effort level is here, there's nothing. There's no pushback. There's nothing. Pushback's another thing. Really, really quickly, Jonathan Lekaramaki, our prized rookie, and who's having a respectable season for a rookie season in the league, has been laid out twice. Not this game, but the last couple of games, laid out huge hits twice. Does no one on the team kind of know the code of hockey? You got to stick up for your rookies. Same with Quinn Hughes, your captain. Was it Washington where he got absolutely ran after the whistle when people were going off for the intermission and someone just bowls him over? I think that was Washington.
Wasn't it Tom Wilson? Or am I thinking about
something
else? Yeah.
No, I think you're right. And there was just nothing from the Canucks. I mean, there's not a single guy on this team that has the kind of heart it's going to take to win the playoffs. At this point, I'm still not concerned the Canucks are going to make the playoffs. Sorry, Conrad. I don't think there's any competition for that last spot. Calgary is going to fall. They're not good. I still think the Canucks are going to sneak in. It's going to be a 4-game series, maybe 5 if one of the goalies steals a game. No one on this team believes in the team. No one on the team believes in the system. And the guys that give your best efforts night in, night out all make less than $2 million and do not have the skill it required to back up the effort they're putting in. Again, all of this, every bit of critique I've given tonight, you can just take out Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is the best thing to ever happen to this franchise. Take him out of all the critique. But at the same time, one Quinn Hughes doth not make a team.
Amen. To move on to your third stream period. I'm kidding.
You're right, by the way, Daniel. You're right. Trade JT Miller. It's time. No. I couldn't be more on that train at this point. You're right. You got to trade JT.
Man, the one thing that frustrates me about this power play, and you know what, I'll quickly transition this into the third stream period, talking about the power play again. So just to give a shout out to our third sponsor, if you guys are enjoying the show, you probably want more of this, right? Well, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And honestly, make sure you turn on notifications as well, just so you are here right when the stream starts. And if you like us, please follow us on our socials. Everything is in the link of the description. You can find the Game Over Network on Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn at the Game Over Network. But okay, yeah. So going back into what you were saying about the power play, about us not shooting. Do what frustrates me? Every single time we score on the power play, it's not because of snipe. It's not because of a one-timer. It's because we get a rebound. And I don't know if the crowd needs to just yell shoot louder, because obviously in the last 5 seconds of the first period, that was when I first heard the fans yell shoot, and that's when Connor Garland shot the puck. So it's obviously the fans' fault that we're not shooting.
It's the fans' fault.
It's 100% the fans' fault.
You know what? Yeah. Let's talk about the fans. You notice all the empty seats tonight?
You know what? I didn't. There was actually I think it was 1 second in what's it called? There was one corner that didn't, but the seats were actually pretty full, which is sad.
You thought maybe it was just the portion of the game, but halfway through the second, the areas behind the benches were completely empty, and I want to just show why. I realize we've already discussed this once, but I just want to remind everyone what an insult this is. What an insult this is. Got this text earlier today. Ooh, yay! Student rush tickets, everyone. Student rush tickets. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus on this. Probably not, but you want to know what the number that those student rush tickets are? These are the discounted tickets. For anyone that does not know the student rush program here in Vancouver, these are discounted last-minute tickets that the Canucks organization offers to students as a cheap and affordable way to get some last-minute tickets to enjoy the game as a student that does not have a lot of money. You want to know how much money those last-minute cheap student tickets were? $179. Anyone that actually bought one of those tickets, I got some snake oil to sell you, and while I'm selling it to you, you might want to look up because it says gullible on the ceiling. I mean, what the actual heck is that? I don't even believe that. The audacity of the Canucks to know, A, how bad they've been playing overall, B, even comparatively to their overall bad play, even how worse they've been playing at home, and then how badly even more they've been playing as of late, then they ask for $180 to watch the effort tonight, and that's the effort they go out and put. I mean, genuinely an insult from the Aquilini group. It continues to be debating how far I want to go into this one, but I think that we've seen from Aquilini as an owner that he is an owner that just cares about money. 100%. Seriously, I mean, absolutely. This team is built. Hey, coaches, GM, can you get us to the playoffs? I don't care about success because we'll sell out every playoff game because it's one of the best hockey markets in the world. If you can just get us to the playoffs, I'll enjoy that revenue. You're good. Don't worry about actually winning a Stanley Cup. People don't need that.
No, man. Like going to the whole Aquilini thing about tickets, like. If you remember earlier this season, like, so me and my family, we were quarter seasons last year, and best value quarter seasons that we have ever purchased. Coming into this season, they made it a point where if you are they basically made it a point that you cannot buy season tickets in order to resell them. Basically, they were they straight up banned. Like, Canucks fans that had tickets for 20 years because they had a history of selling off their tickets. And if you want those tickets, I have the utmost respect for you. If you go to those games, man, I want your patience. But, like, that is the... I was going to say something, but I don't know if I can say this on stream. But everyone that bought those tickets got shafted.
Yeah.
Like, they... Imagine if like you had quarter season tickets and they had like 2 times as less tickets, and this was one of the games that you watched. I'm sorry, like there's so much more things that you could be spending money on, especially because of the fact that like most of the country right now is tax exempt. Like there's so much more that you can be buying. Like,
I mean, yeah, no, you're right, and yeah, there's just so many issues with this team right now. Really appreciate someone on Twitter posting out the 5-on-5 ice time for the team, because I think that it shows that honestly, I don't know how much of this is on Rick Tocchet, because I think he is trying to hold players accountable. Because you want to know who was last and third last in ice time tonight?
Wasn't it
JT Miller and Brock Besser.
Yeah.
JT Miller, 5-on-5, played 9 minutes and 20 seconds. 9 minutes and 25 seconds. Brock Besser, 10-12. To put that into comparison, Danton Heinen played 12 minutes tonight. And Nils Höglander, who is perhaps the most famous Canuck for being in Rick Tocchet's doghouse, played 14:37 and had the most 5-on-5 ice time of any forward. The top three, by the way, Höglander, Pettersson, and Bluger. The bottom three being Miller, Besser, and Miller, Besser, and Philip DiGiuseppe. Those are the guys getting the least ice time. What does it say about this team that Brock Besser and JT Miller are getting less ice time than Philip DiGiuseppe, and they deserve it?
To his credit, Danton Heinen did have a decent game. Danton Heinen was actually playing pretty well.
I'll always shout out Danton Heinen. I love Danton Heinen. Yeah. PJHL legend.
But man, like, to think that, just think of any list, any single list, no numbers, and you have DiGiuseppe over JT Miller. That's probably every list that exists right now in effort, in ice time. I don't know, man.
It's both entertaining and depressing scrolling Twitter after a loss like this, because the amount of just depression and coping tactics from all Canucks fans, whether it's humor, whether it's anger, whatever it is, everyone's going through it. It because it already feels like a lost season, and we're at January 16th. And how could you ever have convinced a Canucks fan during last year's playoffs that next year would feel like a write-off by January 16th? And again, I'm not saying that it is a write-off, but right now, how can you not feel that way?
I 100% agree. I don't know. It's just sad because like we are in the latter half of the season, right? And I feel like I might just be speaking for myself, but I feel like every single time I have to talk about the Canucks, the team of last year always has to be mentioned because of how good they were.
Yeah.
And I think if this was any other team, any other scenario where if you were dating a girl and you told her that you were better last year, every single conversation that you had, you suck, which is what the Canucks are doing right now. Like, it's hard to feel positive, and I hate myself so much for asking for adversity because, like, this is not a chip in the shoulder. This is not even Tyler Myers' shoulder. Like, if anything, this is the shoulder of an amputee.
Yep. Honestly, I'd forgotten for a moment about Tyler Myers. I wonder when we'll find out about that.
Hopefully he's okay. Honestly, like, as much as, like, we love to shit on this game, as much as he will be on bottom left on every single Twitter stat card that I see, he still will play with heart and he plays with effort. It's just that a lot of the times when he plays with effort, it results in a goal for the other team, but hopefully he's okay.
It's also really quick worth noting that Besser was also getting some treatment after the game.
Man,
and he had really limited ice time and played bad. And that's a guy that usually you don't question his heart. It makes you wonder if he's also potentially going through something. I mean, it's just brutal. I mean, like Miller is so checked out. Besser now might be injured. Would explain why he played so badly because again, that's a guy that I don't think, for all of his faults, I have ever questioned Brock Besser's character and effort level. So for him to have a game like tonight, really, really worrying. Tyler Myers, you don't hold your arm like that going off the ice for any good reason.
No.
And I'm not going to say it's a career-ending injury or even a season-ending injury. But let's say we lose Myers for even just a couple weeks. Oh, man, our defensive core is it's already just terrible. And the issue is like, last year, before Demko's permanent injury, we had him to bail us out a pretty regular amount of the time. And not only that, we could count on him to bail us out a pretty regular amount of time. We were the PDO kings. We would get outshot. Remember that? Remember how great it felt? How unworried we were? Because sure, we'd get outshot 4-1 on a given night, but it wouldn't matter because Demko was a brick wall, and we'd score 5 times on 10 shots every game inexplicably. This year, it's the opposite. Our shooting has not gone up whatsoever, at all, and we are not scoring anymore. And now our goaltending isn't there to bail us out. And I made this point on last show, but I have to make it again because it makes the season even worse by comparison. Our PDO, we're 9th in the league. We're overachieving. This team is overachieving. We have a PDO of 101, which is, again, average is 100. 101 is decently above average. I believe the highest in the league right now is 102 point something. Canucks are performing above expectations, above where they should be by PDO, and it's just this is
it's because we're not like a lot. I feel like a lot of our goals are just flukes at this point.
No, I agree. I think it is because we're not shooting. I agree entirely, and I think that you have to find ways to get more shots on net. But does that then become a Talkit system issue or a player issue or a bit of both? I don't think it's out of the question to consider both. I think Talkit has shown a complete lack of adaptability. But I also think that Alvin has given him very little to work with. I like our forward core, sure. I'm actually a pretty big fan of our forward core. But when your defense cannot move the puck up ice outside of Hughes and Hronek, that means that for 2/3 of your pairings, your defense and your offense are unconnected. And that shows in the shot total. Because if you cannot get the puck transitioned from your own end to the other team's end while maintaining possession for 2/3 of the time that you are on the ice, it means that you're not going to be getting shots for 2/3 of the time that you're on the ice. So if you're only shooting for the equivalent of 1 period, it's a miracle we even get 20 shots a game.
No, that's fair, man. Like it's so hard just because I feel like the Canucks just don't have any support internally, and it's so hard to support a team that doesn't seem like they're supporting each other. Like we need the Ted Lasso therapist to go in there and just yell at them. I need Connor McDavid to bring the Amazon Prime camera crew just to tell them to dig in.
Yeah, they look broken. They look broken. And yeah, I mean, again, that Miller and Talkit interaction, this has to be Miller's last game, right? It has to be. There's just absolutely no way that Miller's playing again. Again, if anyone missed the Miller Talkit interaction, after JT Miller had another woeful shift, I say another because they were all absolutely woeful. Rick Talkit walks down, says something to Miller. Obviously can't make that out. Miller walks to the end of the bench, and played, I think, 2 more shifts after that while sitting on the bench because he got benched from talking. I mean, he just doesn't care, and I think that can only be because he knows that his tenure's done. And again, I don't know how I feel about that because while Miller was here, he scored at one of the best rates we've ever seen from a Canuck ever. His points per game as a Canuck, I think is second or third all time, isn't it? Isn't it only behind Bure? It's been ridiculous because, of course, so I think about someone like the Sedins. Of course, they took a while to start up. Whether pretty much from when Miller became a Canuck, he was amazing. So I think that it's gonna be a really bittersweet time to see JT Miller leave. But honestly, as sad as I am to say it, it's the right call. It's the right call.
Fair. As much as I would love to keep ranting about the Canucks, it is also 11.
Yep, that's true. It is.
So
just real quick, yeah. Second all time behind Pavel Bure.
Really? Points per game. Oh.
Yeah, it goes Bure, Miller, Pettersson, McGillney for the top 4.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Miller is one of my favorite players. He's last season, my favorite player on that team. But it's like I said, it's tough to talk about this season without mentioning last season.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Honestly, I loved what you said. That girlfriend point you made, that's a great point. If you had to clarify everything with, well, I was good last year. If I went into BCIT second year, failed all my classes, I was like, guys, I got good grades last year. Why are you critiquing me? Do you not understand what's going on here? I think that you made the best point of the show. You're totally right.
Yeah, it's here, I'll make another analogy. If you talk about it, if all you talk about is the Canucks of last year, that's basically peaking in high school.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah, it is.
Anyways, if you guys want something else to support right now, instead of supporting the Canucks, might as well just support the Game Over. And what better way to support us, what better way to support the Game Over Network than by rocking our clothing? Our Game Over apparel line has dropped with 3 unique designs. One of them being this hoodie, actually, which is very, very comfy.
All of the merch is.
Honestly, all of the merch is super comfy. And it's merch that I would wear every day. If you guys want to look at what that merch looks like, I have a QR code covering my face on stream. I can leave it on for 5 more seconds if you guys want to have that. But I'm going to open up the floor for about 5 minutes. I won't keep you guys here for too long. For any questions that you guys might have. And I actually want to talk about, or not really talk about, but mention Casey Wren. His comment, which says the interview with Hughes after the game is so sad. He just sounds so defeated. I don't blame him, obviously, but he must feel so dejected after he plays so well and they play like that. I haven't watched the interview yet, just because of the post-game show. I'm gonna watch it as soon as we stop stream. But I'm looking at his face right now, and his he's just pouting, and man,
you know what's even worse than that?
What?
You know what I just saw on my Twitter timeline? The Tankathon, the draft lottery simulator. This is where Canucks fans are at. This is because people genuinely, and I said this off the top of the show, it feels like a high draft pick is more attainable than playoff success. How have we?
That's not fun.
The higher you go, the further you fall. But I never believed that falling from the second round could hurt this much.
Fair. Elfrin also says that JT Miller is out. I can sense it coming. And it's bittersweet at the end of the day. I think if anything, I'll end it off there. At the end of the day, even though we will sit here and talk bad about how Miller's playing, which is well deserved, as a Canuck, we appreciate his time.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, during his prime, one of the best Canucks to have ever laced them up, and that's undeniable. Again, second in points per game as a Canuck ever, and the only name ahead of him is Pavel Bure, who many consider to be the most skilled player to have ever laced them up for this franchise. Losing JT Miller is going to hurt like a basketball to the face. It's going to suck. It really is. The worst part is, one more time, we're going to get fleeced. The return is going to be miserable. The return is going to be a couple players with some futures. Like I would guess the return is somewhere along the lines of a roster defenseman, a roster center, and a middling draft pick. That's going to be my guess for a player that is the second best player points per game to have ever laced them up for the franchise. Because the leverage is all on their end.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think it's time to move on.
Very fair. And I think at that point, Zach, I think it's time for us to sign off.
It's time for us to move on as well.
It's time for us to move on, hope for another day, and replay the same despair tomorrow. My name is Mark. This is Zach. We hope to see you guys soon. Take care.